Hey everyone, it's Jane Hamill, and today's episode is special. Well, I like to think they're all kind of special, but today I have a special guest, Zoe Hong. How are you, Zoe?
Hey, party people. I'm great. How are you?
I'm so good. It's great to have you with us. So, usually on this show, we cover marketing and sales and like business stuff. Today, you guys, we're going to do something fun with Zoe. She's going to share with us 5 ugly truths about the fashion industry. So every industry has a little underbelly, a dirty underbelly. We're going to hear a little bit about that today. Zoe, I'm so glad I found you. I found you on YouTube, and I was like, who is this chick? This is a breath of fresh interwebs air coming at me. So I totally dig your videos, and I can't wait to hear what you have to tell us today. So why don't we do this? Start off with, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Zoe Hong, and I have been working as a fashion designer in the industry. My first internship was in 1997, so I have been around for a long minute. And back in 2012, I transitioned into teaching. I started teaching at the Academy of Art University in San Francisco, and I really enjoyed that, but I wanted to do more. I wanted to teach more. And, you know, when you're in a university setting, you stick to the syllabus. That's your job. And I'm not trying to diss the university, but I mean, that's what they hire me to do, right? But I wanted to teach more things. And so I started making these videos, and I was going into more in depth than I could in school because of time constraints and such. And I really branched out, and back in 2015, I quit my, 2015, I started my YouTube channel. And then in 2017, I quit my university job because the channel had just sort of taken over my life. And I am very opinionated, which you have mentioned, and I can do that because
I can do
that because I don't have a boss. I don't. You know, my sponsorship deals are really short and really just like hyper focused. They do not sway my opinions on anything. I'm not beholden to anyone. And so I just kind of spit out how I see things. And yeah, that's really why people come to listen to me talk is I don't care. Like, you know,
I think it's working for you because it's really fun to watch. It's great.
Thanks.
All right, so you've been around the block a little. This is good stuff. Tell me some of the ugly truth. What's the first thing you got for us today?
Everyone copies.
People are crying right now. They're crying in their suit.
You know what? Listen, it didn't used to be that way, of course, but we have come to a phase in fashion and in the way information spreads that even if you don't want to copy, you can't help it because we consume information, especially visual information, which is our trade, at a rate our brains can't even keep up with. Okay. And it's everywhere. And there is really nothing new. The only things that are new is really about fiber technology. That's a whole different ballgame, but that is also why I keep saying fabric is the future of fashion. That's really the only place in terms of fashion design and not branding and not like tertiary around fashion design industries, but within just design itself, that's really the only place where there's innovation is in fabric. Everything else has been done before. We have seen that sleeve before. We have seen that placket before. We have seen that collar before. We have seen that collar, placket, sleeve combination in that color, in that fabric before. We have. But it's all in how carefully you package it and the proportions and the fit and how it fits with your brand and everything. So I encourage people to not be so precious about their clothing. People get real precious. People ask me things like, how can I password protect my online website? It's like, you are...
is that for
this is everyone. Like, I don't even like hear their backstory sometimes. Sometimes they just ask me purely like, how do I password protect my online website? And there's no point. You're either someone who is doing business actively and you need your online everything to be open so people can find you, so you can make sales, you can, show people what you're up to so people can contact you for projects, or you are nobody, no one's heard of you, no one's looking at your website, and so the one person who comes along and wants to look at it, if they have to go through the hurdle of getting a password from you, they're not going to bother. So whether you are making a lot of money or whether you are not, it's not worth it to be so super precious. There are things involving IP, intellectual property law, that you do have to protect. And, but like everyday designs.
Do you find that people, the longer someone's been in the industry, the less they care about that?
Yeah, because people who have been in the industry for a while and are more confident in their ability to survive and thrive in this industry do not get caught up in the little details like this person stole my top stitching pattern.
Yeah, come on.
We just don't care. We're going to come up with something better the next season anyway. Yeah. What is that Oscar Wilde quote? Fashion is so ugly, we have to change it every 6 months.
It's
kind of like that.
Fascinating. Like, really, like, look, girl, everyone has their own ideas. They're not looking to steal yours. It's the execution that really makes the thing anyway. It's not just the like.
Oh, yeah. Execution is everything. It is everything. Like I'll do these design videos where I'll tell people, okay, somebody do this, blah, 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 like just as jokes.
Yeah.
And then people will leave comments on my channel like, Zoe, don't give your ideas away. And I'm like, ideas are nothing, okay? Anybody can be, what is that term? Like what is that? The lazy boy quarterback where you can just sit back and scream things at the TV? Yeah, like
morning quarterback.
Yeah, everyone can think of an idea, but if you can execute it, that's what separates you.
No, I love it when people are like, she stole my idea. I'm like, she didn't steal your idea. You didn't do anything with it. Like, even if like you gave her the idea, which I sincerely freaking doubt, it's not anything until you actually do something. So, all right, everyone copies. Tough pill to swallow. Number 2, what you got?
Number 2. This one is highly, like, people hate this one so much. I mean, because sometimes you can't do anything about it, but how you look in this industry matters. Because this is fashion. This is what we do. And our tertiary industries are beauty. Mm-hmm. Like, we work in fashion because we like pretty things. And that extends to everything. And like, even when you have companies that try to hire like more real models, but it's always the prettiest version of the real body. It's the more ideal proportions of the larger woman, the girl next door who doesn't have a single pimple, has really nice hair, Yep. And it is what it is. We like looking at pretty things. Pretty things sell. We do everything with our eyes first, except for blind people. But I mean, we eat with our eyes. I mean, I love watching these food shows, and a lot of these chefs, these more like salt of the earth chefs, they love making fun of what they call like tweezer chefs, where they take tweezers and they very delicately display things on the plate. But that's because we eat with our eyes all the time. And if you can't even eat without looking at pretty things, you think you're going to buy anything from someone who's not pretty? And it's terrible. And I've struggled with my weight almost my entire life. I was such a fat kid. My heaviest, I was 40 pounds heavier than I am now. But yeah, it's like it's something that I've beat my head against a lot. But,
Yeah, I gotta say, as I get older, it's a rough one too, because if you're young enough or old enough, you're cool, right? If you're Iris, you're great. But if you're in between, it's not like a great, like, if I'm 70 and like outrageous, I'm cool again. But what am I gonna, like, between now and then, It is a little bit tricky about, I think I love the way you put it. Actually, I want to listen to the recording because it was such a good quote. You said something like, we went into this business because we like looking at pretty things. And then we're like shocked that, what, I'm supposed to look pretty?
No, people, they tell me things. I'm like, well, when you go to an event where you know you're going to be networking, put some effort into it, okay? And they're like, oh, but that's so much work. I'm like, well, what did you think it was? You can go to your next Dungeons and Dragons party in your pajamas. Nobody cares, but you're going to a fashion event. Go put a nice dress on. Like, that's kind of a no-brainer to me.
Yeah. I used to have
But
to say that to the girls who worked in my store when I had my shop. I'd be like, you guys, it's like you're in a play here, okay? You got to put on the outfit, the costume. You got to put on the voice. You got to be nicer than your normal self. Like,
that is such a good way to put it. It is a role you play at work. And, you know, I tell people, don't be fake. It should be an extension of yourself, but it should be the nicest, most professional version of yourself that you put out there. And if you can't be quote unquote conventionally attractive, you can create a look that's very memorable. You know, people, they make these jokes. I'm like this weird, like, you know, Korean Edna Mode with my glasses and my black hair. And I'm down with that. I am totally okay with that. And when I was in university, you know, teaching every day and trying to look presentable, I just didn't want to think about it. And so I just started wearing these long sleeve black t-shirts and jeans to school every day. And like, I would wear loud lipstick and ugly shoes that were super comfortable. Like, I got kind of known for it around campus. And so that extended into my YouTube channel and then all the other things that I do on camera for other people. And it's kind of become my look now. And so it's still the big obnoxious glasses. If you see me in person, I will be wearing ridiculous shoes. And it's the long sleeve black t-shirt. So you can create a look. You can cultivate a particular style. You see people like Andre Leon Talley. He is not what you would call conventionally attractive, but he has a look. And people recognize him from 5,000 miles away. He's got the capes. He's got that attitude. And you can do that too without thinking about plastic surgery, trying to look like Kim Kardashian or anything like that, you know?
You're right. So it's not necessarily beauty so much as like having a look.
Because there's lots of fashion people who aren't so into a beautiful runway. There are lots of designers where their look is not just, you know, conventionally mass market attractive. And that's great. They have their own thing going on. You know, some people might think it's ugly. Other people find it like fashion genius. So you find the thing that works with your brand, with what you are all about. And people will have visual cues to remember.
Oof. Visual cues to remember. Dig it. All right. So we had everyone copies. What you look like matters. Number 3.
You don't get to be as creative as you think you will.
That is ugly. That is a very ugly truth. And it's so freaking true. Talk to me.
I think it's because people think of creativity in different ways. People think that creating the most outlandish things is the stretch of creativity. But to me, if you have no restrictions on what you can create, and if you have no restrictions on budget, and everyone leaves you alone to do whatever you want, and if you still can't come up with something cool, then whatever. Like, you should just donate all your art supplies to a school with poor kids who can use them better than you. True creativity, and every designer in any field, any visual field will tell you, a true designer can come up with really great things under all the brief parameters given by their client or their boss. And when you are told you can't do this, you can't do this, and this is our budget, and you can still come up with something really great, that is a true designer. And people don't think about it that way, but it's like, no. And even the big guys at the big haute couture houses, people think that they can do whatever they want. It's like, why do you think there's like a revolving door at the big houses in France? Because they're not doing it right. They're not addressing their customer. They're not building the brand up from where it was before. They have their own bosses that they have to answer to. And if they do not deliver to their customer, I mean, once you get to the point where you're buying stuff that's $5,000, I mean, you expect a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. You will excuse things in a $36 dress that you would not excuse in a $1,000 coat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so when you get up there, people think, oh, they have so much creative freedom. They can do all these things. But no. Think about all the times you hear about a designer getting fired from this house, from that house, from this house. Yeah. Just because they have a ton of money and that they do these outlandish things on runway doesn't mean that they're getting away with it.
Years ago when I was sort of complaining, like I had my own store. I was selling wholesale to big stores like Saks and Bloomingdale's, but I had my own shop too, where I really, really believed I can make whatever I want and just put it out there and sell it. But it's totally wrong, because I could do that, but if it doesn't sell, then I ain't got nothing. So I remember saying, oh, I can't believe I have to design that type of thing again this season. And a friend of mine from FIT said to me, Jane, go be creative in your garden. And I was like, what? She goes, no, seriously. I mean, this is your business. Like, come on. What are you bitching about? It was really funny.
I wanted to be in fashion forever. And so I used to watch fashion television. And I was a kid when I watched that Isaac Mizrahi documentary, Unzipped.
Yeah.
I followed his career when he was banging out those amazing runways with all the top 90s supermodels, Christy, Naomi, Kate, all of them. And I remember he went out of business because he refused to give buyers, the wholesale buyers from Bloomingdale's, from Nordstrom, what they wanted from him. They would talk to his sales reps and be like, we need this kind of pants. Like he did a paper bag pant, like a paper bag waist pant that was such a good seller. And so the buyers were like, we want that again in your current colors. And he's like, I did that last season, so I'm not doing that again. And it was that kind of attitude that led to his business closing, because he wasn't selling. He wasn't giving the buyers. And the buyers aren't super into being creative. They're into sales. And so they want to pinpoint what's selling and just buy that. And so, yeah, if they ask you for something, you better give it to them.
It's so incredible to me. Because I used to, when I had my store, I carried a lot of my own line, but I would buy other people's lines as well. And I remember going to Coterie and being like, hey, I need that skirt body from last year. That thing was awesome. Oh, we've run that for 3 years, but the designers they refuse to do it. We took it off because they won't do it. I'm like, who's running the show? Like, I'm going to give you money for that skirt. Really? You're not going to like reproduce that again?
Yeah, I'm trying to give you money. Like, what part of this do you not understand? Like, and I used to tell my students, like, at the very least, you need enough money to make another stupid collection, okay? Like, go get that money.
Yeah. I used to try to do like 80% based on really, really like business decisions. I forget the other 10, but 10% usually of my line every season was just like whatever the beep I wanted, 10%. But the other part of it was all very, very thoughtfully done on what would sell and what people wanted and what size and what colors and all of it. And then 10% I'd just be like, wild card, throw this on here. It's weird and stupid. I'm the only one who's going to like it. And sometimes it worked and usually it failed. But I gave myself a little bit of room to have fun.
That's a good game plan, though, because, yeah, we like to do something nutty on occasion. And, when you put your fabric stories together, you can order like a novelty fabric that you can have a little bit of fun with and stuff like that. But you just can't ignore when buyers are like, we want this pant. We're going to buy this pant if you make it. And it's like, how easy is that?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Isaac, silly one. All right. What's number 4?
Number 4.
And on pause. We are going to stop part 1 right there. We'll be back with the rest of the tips and a lot of interesting chit chat with Zoe in part 2 of this episode. And you will find the show notes and links back on the blog at janehamill.com/Zoe Hong, Zoehong. Okay. Also, if you are just getting started and you want to build a following and build an audience for your products, so you have people ready to sell to when you launch. So before you're even ready to sell, you can start building an audience. And I have a workshop that will teach you how to do that. janehamill.com/following. You can grab it there. I think you'll love it. It's one of our best sellers. And it'll help you get sales the minute you launch. Okay. So if you're a startup, you're just getting going, that's for you. All right. See you in part 2. Thanks.